Hey, it's Bon. This video is going to be me just kind of giving my off the cuff first impressions of the new countdown mode that is being shown off in the Division 2 PTS. We're currently in phase 1 of 3 that they're going to do. This one is featuring some of the new items, but mostly the new countdown mode. So I'm going to talk a bit about that. In the background, if you're watching the video, for me to explain what's happening is if you do not have Warlords of New York on PC, I am an Xbox primary player, you will have to create a new character every single time you load into a session of the PTS, which includes what you'll see in the video is if you Delta, you have to delete the character and then make a new one and then try to join another lobby. As well as if you finish the 15-minute mode, you then will get kicked out and you'll need to create a new character. So just if you don't have Warlords, this PTS is going to be a bit frustrating for you. So the mode. So what it appears is this new mode is a... it takes place at a nuclear power facility, and from what it seems like to me in the 3 or 4 rounds I've played so far is that it picks a random faction, gives some very vague excuse for why they are there. They're trying to get nuclear material, or they're trying to shut down the power or whatever. And you essentially get assigned 2 objectives, like sub-objectives, that have to be completed before you can go on to complete the main objective for that round, and then you extract on helicopters. This is meant for 8 players. Yannick has clarified that you can play solo or you can play with less than 8, but it will not scale down. It will be scaled to 8 players every time. So what that means is that, you can try to solo it, and at the low levels, I bet there's going to be people who can do it. But this is going to be meant to do with a full team. And a big part of this is that doing solo or doing less than 8, it may not be impossible to do difficulty wise, but completing both sub-objectives, which are probably supposed to be getting attacked at the same time by the 2 different teams, doing that solo or with only 4 people, say, it just may be hard to get under the 15-minute limit, which every round is restricted to. So you go, you complete whatever objectives, the little bit easier ones, the sub-objectives, and then there's a big main objective that's both teams are supposed to attack at the same time. In this particular footage, it's in like a main drainage reactor area where you have to continually close these pipes, vent the air, close the pipes, vent the air. You have to do that multiple times, obviously, while you're being attacked by various enemies. Once you complete the main objective, then it gives you a heads up that you need to extract. And when you extract, it seems like the mechanic there is that you get attacked by it seems like no matter what the faction is that you fought in the objectives, it seems like before you extract, you get attacked by a large number of hunters and by the Black Tusk. This is kind of continuing on with the theme from the end of Fei Lao's season, that it seems like, or the season before that, the 3rd season, that the hunters and the Black Tusk are in some type of cahoots. So if I want to try to extract a little bit of lore from this, it seems like that is going to be a part of it. So as for my thoughts on it, it's interesting. So the environment is very cool. It seems medium size. It's not like a gigantic new map. It's a pretty decent sized, but still fairly it's not Warlords of New York, right? It's not a whole giant new map, but it does seem relatively sprawling. It's very good looking. This looks really good. I'm assuming a lot of this is final, what we're seeing from a design standpoint and stuff like that. The objective seems fairly clear. Nothing seems overly mechanical or complicated. Some concerns I had about how much you would have to communicate have pretty much been erased. I don't think any of the objectives that you have to get done will be so complicated that you have to be able to talk to people. I don't think that's going to be an issue, at least from what I've seen in some fairly limited play. I just my main issue is that this just seems like more of the same. Like, I don't know what this provides that you couldn't get from just running control points or open, like, you know, like a high world tier, just open world events and stuff. It seems like a similar loop of just, you know, go to this place, kill all the things, and then leave, which at the end of the day is the loop that this game is. And so, you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing, I guess. I think, to me, what seems like is missing is that this would have been a really good opportunity in a perfect world. Let me clarify, to introduce a new faction and to introduce some new archetypes and things like that, because by just killing all of these same people we've been killing since the game came out, basically, it doesn't feel very fresh, at least in my opinion. It feels a little bit samey. If there was a whole new faction, say there was a cult faction, or hell, even bring up the underground faction or the ambushers, maybe bring them to the front, and they are obsessed with this, you know, radioactive nuclear power plant or something, I don't know. And we could have been introduced to some brand new archetypes, some enemies that do stuff that we've never seen enemies do before. I feel like this would have been a good opportunity for that. Instead, it, you know, just kind of feels like a lot like what we've been doing for, you know, 3 years now. It's fun. It seems like, I just don't know, like, am I going to play this for days or weeks or months? I certainly want to play it when it comes out in its final form with my actual equipment and character and all that stuff. I'm not going to talk too much about all the proficiency and all of that stuff that's happening. If you're a big fan, if you love that dopamine hit of seeing things pop up and make the cool sounds and you know, slowly get more powerful and pick up a ton of loot, at least in the current iteration, it drops a lot of loot. You're gonna get that from it for sure. So I guess to kind of wrap it up, oh, and then the final phase, I guess I'll finish talking about that, is before you extract, you fight a bunch of hunters. And so someone like me, one of my highlights of Division 1 was during the 1.8 update, which I think a lot of people are kind of feeling like this is the equivalent for Division 2. I would argue it's not, but we'll get past that. One of my highlights of Division 1 and 1.8 was when they revamped the underground, and you could essentially, that was your hunter fighting, you know, playground. You could go in there and fight hunters. I think that there's some of the most fun enemies in the game to fight. I think Division 2 has actually kind of supplanted the hunters by the NPC rogue agents. I actually think are a lot of fun to fight, if not more so than the hunters even. But you fight hunters after you do this main objective, and you fight a whole bunch of them, and it's chaotic, it's wild, it is fun, it's exciting. It feels like a hair unearned. Hunters are kind of weird, where, like, from a lore perspective, if we ever find out who the hunters really are, I think it's going to take a lot away from them, because the coolness of the hunters is their mystery. I would say something similar in the gameplay sense. When you see like 8 hunters running around getting mowed down by 8 players, it does take a little bit away from their mystique and kind of the coolness of fighting them, because I'm fairly certain this is only normal level. So this footage that you're seeing is, you know, they were fairly easy to kill because it's a low level lobby here. But I don't know, they feel a hair unearned. I wish maybe they didn't show up every time. I wish maybe it was a thing where you had to complete the objectives within a certain amount of time to have the privilege of fighting them or something like that. I don't know. But it's it's still fun. It does give you that satisfying feeling of wiping out all these enemies, these high level enemies, dropping tons of loot. I think a big part of it is even at the higher levels of difficulty, this is going to be interesting, especially when you hit this main objective, because it's going to be hard for anyone to actually die. Now, I may be eating those words at the higher difficulties, but you basically like shouldn't be dying, right? Because there's 8 players running around and you're all working together. I initially assumed that there was going to be a thing where like your team of 4 couldn't get something done until the other team of 4 did a thing. At least in this iteration, that doesn't seem like it's the case. It seems like there's basically 8 people on the map, and you should split off and do things separately, but you don't really have to. And so at least so far, I haven't seen anything where it's like, Team Blue has to accomplish this thing before Team Green can do something, similar to what we saw in the raids previously. Since this is a match made type of content, that's probably a good thing. I think that would be kind of problematic if you had that forced communication and dependency in a mode that isn't going to require like LFG and stuff like that. So I mean, my overall thoughts, I think at the end of the day, people who aren't very in touch with how all of this has happened are going to say, what, this is all we're getting after 2 years of no content, essentially. And I think that even though like I feel like I'm somewhat more informed, I still kind of feel that way. But then when I take a step back and realize that, they basically, stopped developing the game after Warlords and really only started picking the game back up and started developing this stuff probably like last summer of 2021, that this is about what you would expect with that amount of development time, also factoring in COVID and all of this crazy stuff going on in our world right now. It's cool. It's not blowing my mind. I think my main thing is kind of something I've said before, is that I think this will make a lot of people who are really invested in the game already happy to just have something new to do. I don't think this is going to have some big effect of like bringing everyone back in. I don't think this is going to be, this particular content, this one mode is going to be some hallelujah moment for the game of bringing everyone back. And that's a bummer in a way, right? Because I think that's what a lot of us want. But for various reasons, it's the reality of the situation. And I'll say that's okay, because there's nothing you can do about it. But that does kind of make me hope that maybe the content they're going to be bringing out later in the year will maybe be a little bit more in that direction, or maybe build up to that. So that's my thoughts. If you want more coverage on this PTS or the Division 2 or just games in general, please subscribe to the channel, ring that bell so you get notified for new content. Also check out, I cover a bunch of other game stuff, Mass Effect, the Division, anything I feel like talking about, and my gaming podcast, the Echo Cast, which you can find here and on all podcast providers. That's where I'm going to leave it. So until next time.
Missing someone.